What's going on, everybody? And welcome on into another edition of the Between the Hashmarks podcast interview. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, and my guest this week is Ohio State defensive tackle and presumptive top 20 pick in the NFL draft, Kayden McDonald. McDonald's just back from the NFL Combine, where he turned a lot of heads, especially in the meetings with teams across the NFL. At 6'3" and 326 pounds, McDonald is widely viewed as one of the premier defensive tackles in a loaded draft class at the position, and he's almost guaranteed to hear his name called in the top 20 or so picks of next month's 2026 NFL draft. Last season, McDonald broke out with a career-high 65 total tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. But what kind of player and teammate is the team who drafts him getting? Who does he pattern his game after? This was a really fun conversation with a kid who stresses above more than anything else that he's a high motor player and wanted to stress to the teams during the meetings at the Combine in Indianapolis that they can rely on him, and he's the type of player who can help them win the Super Bowl. So if you enjoyed the conversation and others like it, please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store to the Between the Hashmarks podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, and of course, subscribe to Between the Hashmarks on Substack as well. Here's my conversation with Kayden McDonald, and I hope you enjoy it. This is a conversation I was really excited about, really looking forward to from the chance that I heard that we had the chance to get him on. We're joined now by Ohio State defensive lineman, projected first-round pick. Kayden McDonald joins us. Kayden, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Just, I just got back from the Combine, enjoying it, and excited to, be on the show.
Absolutely. And of course, you have a birthday coming up. Happy early birthday. And if you want to check out Kayden on Instagram, follow him at KMac_DT. Now, you mentioned it. You're just back from the NFL Combine. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, getting around to compete in front of all my peers. And it's a blessing. It was a blessing to be there and get around the teams.
Absolutely. And what was your biggest takeaway from those meetings with the teams? Because you hear all the time about how that's what these teams really value, is that face-to-face time with prospects like yourself. Was there any aspect of your game or your skill set that you wanted to hype up in those meetings with coaches and scouts last week?
I would say the number one thing is just like the maturity level, knowing they can trust me. I'm at a young age, and just knowing that the fact that I'm going to come in with the same mindset as a guy that's not going to have anything and a guy that's going to have a lot. Just really just having that maturity level. And one game I really tried to hype up is just like my effort, how I play in the tape. And I play 4 quarters, and I wanted to know that they can trust me.
What was the feedback like? Because obviously it goes both ways, right? Like they're trying to get to know you, you're trying to get to know them. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find out in the next couple of weeks which top 30 visits you're going to go on and where you're going to be flying around. But what was kind of the feedback that you got from scouts or coaches that you really took to heart from these conversations?
Well, the feedback, I say I had 20 formal interviews. So I had really good feedback. A lot of teams, they show interest. A couple of teams saying they need a war daddy in the middle. A guy that's going to come in and have an immediate impact. And it was good. I got great feedback, and the meeting went really well.
So this is obviously a really deep defensive line class. What separates you from some of the other guys that are going to hear their names called on draft night as well?
I'll just say, my preparation, my consistency, just my effort. Play hard, play relentless, and I do what's asked, and I'm a team guy.
No doubt. That's what these guys are always looking for. You hear about it in the meetings. What was your elevator pitch to them? Like if Kayden McDonald gets drafted by that team, this is the type of player that you're going to be getting. What were you kind of trying to impress onto them in those conversations?
This is really just me being like dependable, at a young age. They want to know that you're mature and ready to be a starter. The NFL is way different from college level. And just being ready, to help them win a Super Bowl. They wanted to know they can trust me.
No doubt about it. And when you watch your own tape from like a Saturday game, you get into the facility on like a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday night.
Yeah.
What's the first part of like your own tape that you try to focus on game to game, or you want to check in and say, okay, did I do that as well as I thought I did? What's kind of the aspect of your skill set that you focus on?
Just really like my technique, my pad level, my hands. How many times do I affect it? Because my position, it always don't show up on a stat sheet. So how many times can I draw the double team, get penetration, and affect the quarterback? That's what I really look at in my game.
Kind of
and I
along
watch
those
film.
lines, what's more satisfying for you? Is it getting the sack? Is it bursting through the line of scrimmage and getting a big tackle for a loss on a running back who might not see it coming? Is it just beating the double team? What in the course of a game? What kind of like satisfies you the most that makes you bust out the celebration?
I'll say no. At the end of the day, winning. No, I want to win the game, but I'll say specifically, probably just whooping the guy in front of me, winning my assignment, and just being disruptive. Like I said, my teammates around me, I make them better. Especially the linebackers, they come in and just make the play while I'm taking on two blockers. It's evident.
And what's your favorite pass rush tool in your toolbox? What's your go-to move?
Yeah, so I got a couple. I'll say that quick swim move and a power rush to my club rip. Just really, I play off my effort, like my effort. You watch the film, those 4-quarter games and the biggest games, I really show up, and I show up at a high level.
And that's what the NFL looks for, right? They look for, and you hear all the time coaches talk about high motor guys and relentless guys, especially up front and especially on defense. You've mentioned a few times that it's your effort and it's your drive that kind of defines you as a player and separates you. Where does that come from? How do you tap into that mentality, especially walking onto a field on Saturday afternoons and soon to be on Sundays?
Just that, having that maturity level. Being at a school like Ohio State, it helped me develop a lot. The strength staff got me ready. The nutritionists and just the coaches like Coach Johnson, Matt Patricia. And really, it just came from all the preparation I put in. Like, ever since I was a young kid, I've been playing the football since I was 4 years old. And just each year, just gaining that experience and knowing how adversity feels and knowing that when you get a chance to go out on Saturdays and you just go make a play. And I feel totally confident every time I get on the football field that, I'll help my team win.
For sure. And you talk about Ohio State. I mean, it's one of the most storied programs in the country, one of the most successful programs since at least the turn of the century, if not longer than that. You talk about, dotting the I at the shoe. Yeah. And you look around at all the talent, Arvell Reese is over here, and you got Cornell Tate on offense over there, and Jeremiah Smith. Was there this like holy crap moment for you when you walk into Columbus, when you walk into Ohio State? Like, was there a moment for you where it's like, wow, I not only do I belong here, but this is a pretty big deal?
I'll just probably say, like, off season, like the guys in the weight room, like the skill position, they're lifting heavy, just the work ethic they put in. A lot of people's work ethic, like being there late, doing extra stuff when nobody's watching. I think that's what separates Ohio State guys from any guys in the country.
And you've gotten to practice against some of those elite offensive players we talked about. I mean, Trevion Henderson was just there, last year getting drafted by the Patriots. Now he's playing in a Super Bowl. Cornell Tate, we mentioned, all these guys. What makes Ryan Day and that offensive side of the ball, what makes them so hard to beat every single year? And how do you guys keep churning out that kind of talent?
It's really like you hear the saying, iron sharpens iron. Ohio State, we compete at a high level every day. Coach Day, he always said there can't be no bad days at Ohio State. So each day coming in with a chip on your shoulder and like Coach Johnson, he always tells me you haven't arrived. So just keep driving and keep working. And that's how I build on it every day and taking it day by day.
And you've played in some pretty big-time environments, right? I mean, you played at Penn State, and I'm sure there was a whiteout one of those games. You played the Big House. You've been in college football playoff games. You made deep runs. What's the most electric atmosphere that you've been a part of? To take the shoe out of it, because you're going to say your home stadium regardless, right? But what was the building that you walked into or the stadium that intimidated you the most? Or was maybe the most electric atmosphere, I guess I should say?
I'll probably say that's a good question. Can I say the national? I got two. I got the Big House and the national championship because it was in my hometown. So I got to shout out Atlanta.
Dude, that's awesome. It's a great stadium, too.
Yeah, it's a great stadium.
Penn Stadium is awesome down there.
Yeah, I played there when I was in high school, so I was very familiar with it.
Falcons drafted a couple edge rushers last year. Maybe they need some defensive line help in the middle this year.
I had some conversations with them. They said they're going to run to the podium if I'm available.
I think a lot of teams are going to feel that way watching your tape, brother. I'll tell you about that. But, speaking of that, the projections are all over the place. You could be a potential top 20 pick. Is there an NFL player or a couple of NFL players maybe that you've watched growing up, or now that you're playing big time college football, that you've patterned your game after, that you kind of borrow this guy's, swim move or this guy's bull rush? Are there any like NFL players that you've kind of like patterned your game after or borrowed to like part of their skill
Yeah.
sets?
I have like a couple, one guy, I mentioned Cam Hayward. I have a lot of respect for him. He's been in the league for a long time, and I know him personally. It's just a personal relationship. Another guy, DJ Reader, he's a dog. He's been Cincy. He's been holding that defense down. No, he's not with them right now, but he's holding that defense down. Quentin Williams, he came a long way. He developed that leadership mentality, and he's just physical. I like guys that are physical, D tackles, and are disruptive. And I'm the guy I really want to model my game after is a guy that's going to come in and help my team win a Super Bowl. Like, that is my main goal, and I want that to let the teams know that I want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the teams that were just in the Super Bowl, right? You had Milton Williams on one side for the Patriots getting there, and you just look at how physical that Seahawks defense is. It's a great year to be a defensive tackle coming into the league.
It is.
Based on what Seattle just did and teams now prioritizing that position.
Yep, for sure. I had a formal meeting with the Seahawks, and it went really well. So, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, a lot of teams need defensive tackles to, take that next step. And I'm glad it's a D-tackle-driven league because your defense is nothing. Your team is nothing without a dominant defensive tackle. And I think it's getting a point across from NFL that, we're bringing back them throwback nose tackles now.
For sure. And you hear guys talk about this all the time, stopping the run on the way to the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
They like the mentality is get the sack, but stop the run on the way there if it's a handoff. Is that kind of what you strive to do on a snap-by-snap basis?
Oh, for sure. I pride myself on being a complete player. Early downs, I got to stop the run. And on third downs, I push the pockets. If I can't get there, I get my hands up. Really, when I'm going to take my game to the next level is like really turning my pressures into sacks and just giving my offense a chance to go score and win. That is really when I'm going to turn my game up once I get to the league.
Gotta love that. And when you walk
sir.
into an NFL locker room for the first time, tell me about the teammate that team is getting drafting Kayden McDonald.
Well, you're going to get a guy that's going to come in with a smile on his face. I always pride myself on being joyful. I don't cut corners, so you never have to ask me to do anything. I'll follow the program, and the guys around me, they're going to fall in love with me, right when I get there because I'm a genuine person and, I do good things and good deeds, and I just want to be surrounded by great people.
That's going to get you far. That attitude, not just going to get you drafted, but you're going to become pretty popular in the building with that kind of mentality going into this whole process. Tell me something about Kayden McDonald that fans don't know.
I play a lot of video games, and I just be chilling. I just enjoy life.
Did you create yourself or play as yourself in the NCAA game? Because
I do that. I do that every day. But now kind of getting old to me since I'm making this transition into the NFL. So I gotta wait till the NFL now.
Madden. Gotta get Madden.
Yeah,
you gotta get Madden. Maybe you'll be in the 99 club.
For sure.
He's Kayden McDonald. Make sure you follow him on Instagram at KMac_DT. Kayden, this was a lot of fun. Wish you the best of luck on draft night and look forward to talking to you further up the road, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. Nice to meet you, brother.
Awesome stuff there from Kayden McDonald. Really going to be pulling for this kid and looking forward to hearing his name called on draft night. You just start to think about the teams that are defensive tackle needy. He mentioned that he had the formal meeting with the Seattle Seahawks. Certainly walking into that defense after winning a Super Bowl would be a terrific landing spot. The Chicago Bears at pick number 25. I've seen McDonald projected there in a lot of mock drafts. He would certainly elevate Dennis Allen's defense and be the kind of player who could unlock Montez Sweat on one side and whatever the Bears do to add an edge rusher this offseason on the other. And, if you're a team that needs a defensive tackle who can stop the run on the way to sacking the quarterback, as McDonald said that he specializes in, you can't do much better than a guy that had his production at Ohio State last year and with the attitude that he's bringing into the league. So again, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you enjoyed the conversation, please go ahead and subscribe to the Between the Hashmarks podcast in the Apple Podcast Store. Leave us those 5-star ratings and reviews, because the 5-star reviews really do help grow the show. Let us know what you like about the show, maybe a guest or two. Let us know a player, draft prospect, former player that you might want us to try to get on, either on the Tuesday podcast with Mike Tanier and myself, or on the interview podcast on Sundays. Mike and I are off this week. We'll be back with a new edition of the Between the Hashmarks podcast next Tuesday. Look forward to chatting with you then.